What is happening, everybody? This is Jason over here at Cog Hill, and today we are in the hydrangea garden. If you follow me, especially on Instagram or Facebook, but really Instagram, you know that I absolutely love hydrangeas. I've mentioned them in the past in some of the YouTube videos, but hydrangeas are by far my favorite flower and shrub. I love them, love them, love them. I've gotten a ton of requests to please do a video on your hydrangeas and your hydrangea garden, and that's what I'm going to do here today. I'm going to give you an overview of what I do here with hydrangeas and show you how easy they are to grow, how easy they are to take cuttings off of. But just get started talking about hydrangeas. Right off the bat, there are just hundreds of varieties of hydrangeas out there. I mean hundreds. These here mainly are called big blues, but that may or may not mean that your flowers are going to be blue. That all has to do with the pH level in your soil. If it is 5.5 or below, which is acidic, you're going to have blue blooms. That's tough to say. If it's 6.5 or higher, you're going to have pink blooms. So the pH level of your soil will determine the color of your blooms unless you have a white hydrangea. And I have a few here. Main one that I love is the oak leaf hydrangea. That is native to Alabama and native to the southeast, and I love the oak leaf hydrangea. Simple fact, because it is native, and that means it's going to do super well in my area. But right here I mainly have blues, which is called big blues, and I have one or two that I just came across that I liked, so they're randomly placed in here. And I do have some oak leaves on the outside that I recently transplanted a year or two ago, so they're just now getting ready to start going. The main thing about hydrangeas is there are a few out there that do take the full sun, but for the most part they love dapple sunlight or shade or morning sun to late afternoon sun. I got mine under this tree canopy. This is their natural habitat. They love dapple light. They love moist feet, not wet, but moist. Even established plants that are old, established, when it gets hot summers, they will need some water. I got an automatic watering system on mine that's a low pressure system that I'm going to have to clean out here in just a minute and make sure it's working properly. I have to do that every single year because it's a closed system, but for some reason it'll get trash in it, and I just can't figure that out. That's like one of the mysteries of the universe, you know, like black holes, aliens, Bigfoot, and trash getting in my closed sprinkler system. One thing that I like to do is when it comes to fertilizing, is I like to watch the weather and see when it's going to rain. But if I can't time my fertilizing when it rains, I do have this automatic watering system. Plus I use organic fertilizer, which typically is low in nitrogen, so it's not going to generally burn anything up. But I do like to water it in after I do fertilize. If you were to use something heavier like a 1010, 13, or anything higher than that, you definitely would want to water it. What I like to use on mine is Hollytone, and I use the one that's Azalea Evergreen Food, which is for acidic loving plants. It is a all-purpose organic fertilizer, and it's generally like 5-4-6 or 5-4-5, something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head, but that's what I like to fertilize with. And I like to use organic fertilizer. Come on, man. I like to use organic fertilizer. That's just the way I garden. Plus my chickens love to get under here because it stays moist and it's cool, and they love scraping that leaf mulch back and finding worms and little seedlings and little critters, so they love staying under here. So I don't want anything that I know that could possibly hurt them, kill them, or make them sick. so I stick with organic fertilizer. I do like to feed mine every 2 weeks from March till June, but you don't have to do it that frequently. You could do it every 3 weeks. Now that I got it good and fertilized, I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna double check my low pressure irrigation system I got set up in here. Make sure all these guys are standing up. Do I need to move some around? It's gonna be clogged up. It always is clogged up. I did this, gosh, I'm guessing 10 years old. I mean, it's lasted that long. It's not that expensive. I got this from a box store like Lowe's or Home Depot. And I just bought the tubing, the stakes, the sprinkler heads, and the where it hooks up to a water hose over here in my raised bed garden. But I got the main tube, and I got these sprinkler heads just spidering off that main tube, and it works like a charm. I mean, I'll cut this thing on, I'll set a timer for a couple of hours because it is low pressure, and it keeps this bed healthy, as you can see. One of the things that I've noticed with mine is I don't have any pests. I do not have any pests. I don't do any type of insecticides. I don't spray for any type of fungus. I mean, these things are super healthy, and I don't do any of that kind of stuff. As for pruning, if you really want to hard prune it, do that after August the 1st. And typically I do mine in the fall. All right, let's talk pruning. You can see all these canes in here. That's a brand new one right there. You can see how green it is. What you want to do is this is dead wood. There's nothing on it. You want to get that out. There's not much in this one, but sometimes it could be a lot of dead wood. You want to get that out. If you want to, down here at the bottom, you can cut some of these big canes out, and they will. This is a dead one. So this is dead wood. You want to get that out. That's not doing anything. So you can cut this one right here like that new cane, and that one's going to split next year and be double. So you can come through here and just randomly do that on your canes down here. You don't have to do it if you don't want to. If you forget to do it 1 year, it's not the end of the world, but that's how you can get it bushier and bushier. If it's too tall and lanky for you, you can shake this thing up. You can cut it back. It's gonna grow back. Just keep in mind, you may not have blooms that year. It may be next year. Another thing that I like to do is kind of a deadheading thing, which we do cut these for cut flowers for inside the house or whatever. What I like to do is your blooms up top, I'd come right above those pair of leaves and I would cut it right there. And I'll come through, like if I can, if I have time, is when you have dead ones like so, I would come through and I would cut back those dead heads. But that's basically how I prune mine. I'll come through, I'll cut 3 or 4 of those ones at the base so it branch out some more. If you want it thicker than that, you can just keep trimming. But if you do 3 or 4 a year, they're going to branch out. You can see this one's real long and lanky. Once it gets through blooming, I'll cut this thing back pretty good bit so I can get rid of this big long lanky stalk that's just coming out of nowhere. It just looks out of place. This one right here, you can see how much bigger it is. I don't shape mine. I want mine to look natural growing under here, so I really can't give you that much advice on shaping it up. I know there's people out there that got theirs to look perfectly like a shrub in front of your house, but I don't grow mine like that. I grow mine to look natural, like it would be in its natural setting, and that's just what I do. And if you had one that looked rough, you could cut that sucker back. It should be back full bushy and healthy. If not, chances are it does not like its location. It's either getting too much sun or maybe getting too dry. But if a hydrangea is not just going crazy like this, it's not liking this spot at all. So you may want to dig it up in the fall or early spring. I would suggest the fall and transplant it to a different location. But you want to do that where it's not going to have that much stress on it. And in the fall, when it's dormant, would be the perfect time for that, because these are not evergreen bushes. They're going to drop its leaves and it's going to go dormant until late spring, and it's going to start coming back to life. So the fall will be a perfect time to transplant these guys. One of the greatest things about this, much like my fig trees and blackberries for that matter, These things are super easy to propagate. If you bought one hydrangea and got it going, got it good and healthy, you can have as many hydrangea bushes as you want. And I'm going to show you how you can take cuttings off this thing, and then I'll show you another method too where you don't have to worry about cuttings. Cuttings. What you're going to want to do is you want to find some new growth. You don't want to cut any really off your old growth. And you really don't want any flowers on it. So you want to find a piece that doesn't have any flowers, that's new growth, that's got 2 or 3 pairs of leaves on it. And you just want to cut it off. Now I'm going to come through, I'm going to take all these stems off. I'm going to leave me a couple of leaves here. I'm going to get a couple of more. This one looks good. So I got myself 4 cuttings, and like I said, I just want to take all these leaves off. Leave us a few. And so we got us some cuttings. Now I'm away from the house, no need to fret. I got me some jars. I'll put these in water, and then when I'm ready to go home, then I can put these in soil and get them ready. Now while I'm down here, I'll show you another easy way that you can propagate these things. A heavy flower pot or brick. That's usually probably the best thing to do. But take you a limb, you take you a bottom limb like this one, clean you out a little spot of dirt, lay this limb down where it's direct contact with the soil. Then you want to take your pot or brick, set on top of it, and cover it up with mulch a little bit. That thing will take root. So then you can cut this end off, dig up around where it's done rooted, take that root stock, put that in a pot, and keep it good and watered and in the shade, and you'll have yourself a hydrangea. And you'll typically have one that's got, you know, pretty healthy shoots coming out of it. You may want to cut some of it back when you do that, so it won't be so stressed out. But that is a super easy way to have free hydrangeas. Then you could go around your hydrangea plants or your hydrangea garden and set you some bricks out on top of these lower limbs you got, and come fall, you'll have a mess of hydrangeas. Let's go and take these up to the house and get them in some soil. Now let me show you what I like to do. Very similar to the figs, and look at my figs. Y'all remember these? Took that cutting off, took all the leaves off. It looked like this. Now look. I told y'all that was easy. But first, let's get us some seed starting mix going. You don't have to use seed starting mix. It's just what I got, and I kind of make my own a lot of the times, and it's super easy. It's 8-1-1, 8 parts peat moss or something like peat moss. You got coconut coir, and then 1 part vermiculite, 1 part perlite. Mix it all together, and then also a lot of times I put a little pinch of lime in there too. And that's my seed starting mix, and that's what I'm going to use for these hydrangeas. So I'm going to use these 1 quart containers, and I just save all this stuff if I buy a plant somewhere, because I use them all the time. You see, I'm already in the shade. You can see it's already starting to wilt on me pretty good, but that's okay. We're good. We're going to take our cutting, and if you had some root hormone or something like that, that would be awesome. But if you don't, it's okay. I'm going to take it down to probably about 2 leaves here. I got that 3rd one. I may just do it like that. 2 leaves, and I'm just going to put it down in this pot. Set off to the side, get me another one. Because wherever you pull those leaves off, where you put them off down here at the bottom, that's more than likely, that's where you're going to have some roots come out. So that's what you want. This one might be too young, I'm not for sure, but, and I don't like where it is. I'm going to cut it right here. Now, like so. Now we're going to water the stew out of these. It kind of takes peat moss a minute to absorb all that water, so just do a little bit at a time. And honestly, that's it. Keep it in the shade, and you want to keep it moist. You know, you don't want it sopping wet, because that could cause rot. but just keep it moist. Don't let it dry out. That's so important. And what's crazy, you'll be shocked how well, once these things start rooting, how quickly they're gonna grow. You can see it's been a couple hours, and you see they perked up since I took those other leaves off. They just perked up. It's just not so much stress of trying to keep all those other leaves alive. Hey, if you want to see more of our garden videos, check out this playlist right over here. I think you'll like it. Hey, if you're interested in any Cog Hill Farm gear like this old snap shirt, check out that link right here. If you're new to the channel, like what you see, hit that subscribe button down below. We'd love to have you, and as always, y'all be good.